Bill. Good afternoon. I'm Ross the Boss. I'm here with Flat to the Bone, Casey Scheinfeld. We're here week 5 of Waiver Wire Baseball. Casey, it's been going quickly. We're still in April, though. I mean, it's still like...
Well, when you start in Korea in the middle of March, the season starts earlier every year.
Thanks for reminding me. Yeah. So we start earlier, but again, guys, don't give up on your stars. Don't drop anybody crazy. Please keep them. They're going to have big years. It doesn't matter if they start slow. If they start slow, put them on your bench. I'm just reminding you because I get so many emails asking me, what should I do with this guy, that guy? I said, you hold on to him. If you don't want to play him, put him on your, but don't waive him. Do whatever you can. Casey, you're a big Yankee fan. Something that made me laugh yesterday was,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Manager Aaron Boone was thrown out of the game yesterday. Well, why don't you tell us what happened?
Well, apparently one of the fans seated near the dugout was screaming some pretty unsavory things at the umpire. The umpire thought it was coming from Aaron Boone or from the dugout and tossed Boone from the game, ejected him.
Yeah, and they have it all on video. It's not like, it wasn't like hearsay, like, oh, I didn't say anything. He didn't say anything.
No, I know.
And Uncle Ted's in the house. In the house, Uncle Ted. Yeah, it did this happen here, but I haven't seen that ever in a baseball game when a manager was thrown out for something he didn't do. I know they do some bad things, but I felt bad for Aaron Boone for getting blamed. So many times when I was a kid, Casey, I get blamed for stuff that I didn't do, and I felt the same. I felt bad. That's why I felt Aaron Boone. I'm always the blame guy. I'm always the guy that gets blamed for. Oh, there's a hole in the wall. Blame Ross. Oh, we found a bunch of drugs in your car, Ross. Blame Ross. Oh, Ross, we got a police report that you picked up a prostitute last night. No, blame Ross. None of this stuff ever happened. It's just all hearsay. So, Casey, let's talk injuries. I mean, it's so every week. It's like all we do is I just want to tell the injuries. So if you have these guys on your team, you may have to pick up somebody else or just make sure you put them injury reserve. Tristan Casas of the Red Sox, he's out for a while. Rib stain placed on the AL.
And it's always worry when it's your ribs.
Yeah, I was going to tell you
that's
that.
Part of your pronation. That's like the oblique injuries.
Yeah, it could be a lengthy stay. So don't make sure you even IL or waive them, whatever you want to do. Don't, but pick up a first baseman. There you go.
Yeah, you're going to need somebody.
Now, this is a huge blow because I have this guy in a few leagues, and he's one of the best hitting catchers in baseball. Is Francisco Alvarez, Casey.
I was very high on him this year, and I picked him up on a lot of teams. I own a lot of shares of him.
And surgery. It's not like he's just sitting there with a cat. I mean, he's having surgery.
Yeah,
and it's
a torn ligament in his thumb. Yeah.
So he's gonna miss at least 2 months. If it's a redraft league, Casey, do you waive him or do you just hold on to him? What do you want to do?
If I have the IL space, I'm going to hold on to him because if he comes back let's say he comes back in August, if you can have him for most of August and September, that's a big boost to your team after the trade deadline. So I would hang on to him if I had the IL space. Certainly in a 2-catcher league, that's what I'm in a couple 2-catcher leagues, which makes it even harder to replace him. But yeah, I'm not waiving him. Certainly dynasty or keeper league. Well, keeper league is no different than redraft. I don't keep a lot of catchers, but a dynasty league, you don't want to drop them.
There you go. Casey, this is a shock to you. Sitting down, I can't believe this guy's back on the IR. It's unbelievable. Anthony Rendon of the Los Angeles Angels. I mean, Casey, in all seriousness,
talk about a paycheck. Talk about a guy. Well, it's really bad. Don't get me wrong. And his comments preseason made it 10 times worse when he said, oh, I don't like playing baseball. It's a job to me or whatever. He's not passionate about it. But it reminds me, the Yankees have had a couple of these. Remember when they signed Jacoby Ellsbury and he missed like the last 4 years of his contract? Carl Pavano was another one they signed, and he got into a car accident and never played again. There have been some pretty bad signings, but Rendon is way up there for what, like, he was supposed to be the Trout partner that was going to carry the Angels to the promised land. But
no, he's never happened.
He hasn't had more than like 50 at bats in a season, I think, in this decade. It feels like.
Casey, he signed a huge deal here in Los Angeles or Anaheim, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, he hasn't played that much. He signed a mega deal, like a Scott Boras special, huge money deal.
Yep.
And he played great for the Nationals, but he just when it came to LA, it's just been a disaster. And if I was the Angels, I would just waive them. It's just time to like get away from those kind of players. It's just bad luck. And sometimes maybe he'll do better in a different place. And the Angels they're wasting their time with this guy. I'll just mention more names, and we don't have to comment about it. Christian Javier placed on the IL. He was scratched on Saturday. Frankie Montes of the Reds, who was their opening day pitcher, he's out. He got hit by a comebacker, but X-rays are negative. He'll probably be out 15 days. DL Hall, who I like this year, played on the IL because of the knee. And AJ, I'm not going to say Puke. Is it Puck or Puke? Puck. Thank you. So it's AJ Puck, the big lefty, shoulder fatigue, Casey Scheinfeld, which is always a bad thing to have. Shoulder fatigue. I think I have that every day. Let's talk waiver wire pickups. People are anxious to hear what you have to say, Casey. I'm shooting the mic to you. Tell me about some of your favorite pickups this week in waiver wire.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, middle infield, particularly second base, is always a tough position to fill. And we've talked about him before, but Jose Caballero is only 45% owned of the Tampa Bay Rays, and he gives you speed. He gives you runs scored. He's even had 2 home runs in the last couple of weeks. He's not going to hit for a super high average, but he's going to bat 260 and give you solid numbers. On the batting side, he's one of my top pickups. And then I had to put Travis d'Arnaud in there in Atlanta because he's been playing great. And with Francisco Alvarez going down, I wanted to find a catcher who would be worth the pickup. And he's been playing great right now. He's streaky, so I don't know how long, but he's one I would keep my eye on.
I like that. And also, I was looking at catchers, and because I had Francisco Alvarez and he went down, and I need somebody to replace him, I picked up Connor Wong of the Red Sox in some of my leagues. I know he doesn't play every day, but he's been hitting the ball really well the past week. And that's why I picked him, because I'm hoping Alvarez would be back in a couple weeks and Wong can fill shoes. What do you think about Connor Wong?
I mean, he's doing a good job. I don't know if he's a good streamer. I don't know if he's long for the season, or Wong for the season for that matter. But he's been hitting the ball well in Boston.
Now, somebody that's been out all season, he's finally back in the minors, getting a lot of reps, getting at bats. He's playing second base. He's going to be called up this week, Casey Scheinfeld. So if you pick him up now, you'll probably beat the rush. Is Vaughn Grissom of the Red Sox. This guy had so much promise with Atlanta last year. He was traded during the offseason. I like this kid. His dad is Marquise Grissom, who I used to love as a kid. Unbelievable hitter, base stealer. What do you think about Grissom? Is it somebody that you would target in some of your leagues, or you just
if he's going to qualify at second base? Absolutely. I mean, especially if you have Ozzie Albies is hurt. You know, Gleyber Torres has been terrible so far. So there's places where he can certainly help you. And he's got some power speed. He's not his dad. He's not going to steal 40 bags back in the old Expos days that I love to watch him play. But he's a solid talent. He's the reason that the Red Sox, he was part of the Red Sox trade for Chris Sale, he went to the Red Sox in the Chris Sale trade, right? Not the Chris Sale trade. Was it Chris Sale? Yeah, Chris Sale trade.
You got it right, yeah.
So, yeah, Anthony Rodriguez, what's up to you too? Welcome to the party.
A-Rod.
But yeah, second base, as we know, is one of the shallowest positions. So Vaughn Grissom is certainly worth a look. Mauricio Dubon in Houston is playing pretty well and getting some at-bats. So he's another one you can look at that position. Edouard Julien is playing 4 home runs in the last 2 weeks. He's the leadoff hitter for the Twins. The Twins have been pretty bad, but his numbers can certainly help you.
Yeah, I mean, somebody who's playing awful, which it's a good time to either buy low or just waive him, is Jonathan India of the Reds. He's batting under his weight, and he did not start the year off well, but he's a great player. I just don't know what's wrong. But
yeah, I mean, again, he got the big opportunity with McClain getting hurt, and he hasn't exactly done a lot with it. No,
embarrassing. Our cover guy this week, I live in Los Angeles, is not Andy Page. It's Andy Paez. So just so you guys know, I said it right, Casey. You got to give me some props.
The Cuban outfielder, yeah.
They brought him up. He started 5 straight games. He hit his first home run on Sunday, Casey Scheinfeld. This guy is a real hitter. People in LA are excited. He's in a great lineup here in LA. I love this pickup. I think this will help anybody that needs hitting, especially in the outfield. Andy is going to be a for sure Rookie of the Year candidate. I don't know if
wow,
he'll be a candidate.
That's a bold prediction. I'm not sure.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm not sure. Yeah, he's a true power hitter. I agree with you. He's got 0 walks to 9 strikeouts in his first 20 at bats. So we don't know how long it's going to take him to adjust to major league pitching. He's never faced it before. We've seen Cuban players come over and do really well. We've seen them come over and flame out. I certainly have him on my watch list. I don't know. I'm not running out to pick him up. I would rather get Heston Kjerstad, who's getting called up today.
Tell us about Heston. Tell us about Heston Kjerstad. Yeah, he was brought up today.
He's part of that Baltimore farm system, which is just producing everybody. It's hard to. He's got 10 home runs, 30 RBIs, a 350 average, 25 runs scored. His OPS is like over 1,200. It's crazy.
They made no choice. The Orioles had no choice to bring this guy up. He can't miss.
Made it. And I'm not saying he's going to come and immediately light it up, but I would certainly prefer him right now over Paez. And again, that's not saying Paez isn't worth a pickup. He's just somebody I would wait and see. I would keep him on my watch list, or if I picked him up, keep him on my bench until he's at least drawn a walk. The
reason I like Paez so much is because, again, I'm not a Dodger fan. I'm not saying this because I'm biased.
No, I know you're not.
Trust me. But the Dodgers' top 3 hitters, this guy named Ohtani, I never heard of him, and Freeman. I mean, Casey, those top 3 hitters, I haven't seen a lineup like that so potent with the top 3 batters in a long time. It's been a while, and those 3 guys, they get on base or they get walked and they get hit around them, and then Paez comes up or Will Smith comes up and they hit him in. So it's like these guys that are in that order. Look at Hernandez for the Dodgers. Teskar, I mean, he's playing unbelievable. And it's not because he's in it is a different environment, but it's because the hitters above him are not getting pitches and they're just getting on base a lot. So, and he's getting tons of opportunities. So he's taking advantage of it. So that's so important to know like what team your players are going to. Both teams, Baltimore to me is the best team in the American League. And the Dodgers, I hate to say it, has the best talent in the National League. I'm not saying they're the best team, but they have the best talent in the National League.
You just can't say it, folks.
I can't do it. But I'm happy they're not. I'm happy they're struggling. I love it. I love how the Nets almost swept them. I just love all that stuff. So trust me.
Anthony Rodriguez wants to know if Dalton Varsho is worth a look. He has been looking good. You're right. I didn't include him on my list because he's at 64%, and we try to say 60 and under. He is playing well. I would say absolutely if he qualified at catcher, but he doesn't anymore. He's an outfielder. He's got some speed.
5 stolen bases this year, 5 home runs. He's definitely worth a look. I like Varsho. He started first year when they signed him. He was a disappointment. I remember when Toronto signed him. I was all high on him.
Uncle Ted is challenging you. He thinks the Rangers are the best team in the American League.
Listen, it's a good question. I mean, the Rangers are World Series champions. I get it, but if you look at Baltimore's lineup and just the youth factor and Gunnar and I mean all these guys, Andy, all these guys they have are just so good at each position, and they keep bringing up these guys in the minors that are great. So
yeah, I mean it is a fair
and
question,
you got to admit, Uncle Ted, the pitching in Baltimore is a little better than the Texas Rangers pitching staff, who's either on the IL or they're just mediocre.
Yeah, I mean the Rangers have the potential to have dominant pitching if Scherzer and DeGrom both come back and pitch like earlier versions of themselves. The one thing I would say about the Rangers is, yes, the Orioles lineup is very exciting. The Rangers lineup has done it before, right? We're talking about, yes, Gunnar Henderson is good, but Jackson Holliday hasn't done it before. Colton Cowser is out of his mind right now, but he's never done it before. Nope. And so I think the Rangers are more proven, but it's going to be exciting either way. So I think Baltimore are certainly one of the top 2 teams and maybe definitely the favorite next year. And this year they could shock. Once they get Bradish back, That'll help them. Losing Felix Bautista hurt them a lot. If they had him in their bullpen, that bullpen would be sick. But they have they both have good problems to have. How's that? How do I make room for Heston Kjerstad? How do I make room for Kobe Mayo, the third baseman, who's absolutely crushing the ball? And what about Cade Povich, the pitcher in Norfolk? Like, everybody on that Norfolk Tides team is doing awesome. He's got 33 strikeouts in 21 innings and only given up 7 hits. He walked 9 guys, but his stuff is filthy. So I mean, as a Yankees fan, I'm very jealous of Baltimore. I've never had to say that at any other time in my life since I've been a big baseball fan. I loved Cal Ripken. Don't get me wrong. Brady Anderson rocking the rollerblades, shirtless, going down to the park in the mid '90s after his roids thing. But even then, the Yankees were still a better team. Right now, the Orioles are just fun. Like, that's
they
all
are, and they're in Anaheim. They're in Anaheim tonight. They beat Anaheim last. It's weird. The Angels started off pretty good, and now they just are. I think they lost 5.
They don't have the talent.
And your Phillies, Casey. I know you live in Pennsylvania. I'm saying they're your Phillies because you live in Pennsylvania. Your Phillies won 7 in a row. I mean, they're the hottest team in baseball right now. They're playing great. And it's not because of their hitting; it's because they're pitching. I mean, they're pitching. They have these guys who are just coming out.
Well, Spencer Turnbull on the season has like a 2 ERA and a ridiculously low WHIP, and is striking people out, not at a dominant rate, but enough to qualify. And he's still only 40% owned. People aren't willing to buy into him. Ranger Suarez has been awesome. Zach Wheeler's been steady. Aaron Nola's getting better. Like, that rotation is sick. And people and now if Bryce Harper starts hitting, because he hasn't been hitting yet, like,
nope.
Watch out. Trey Turner's has heated up. Alec Boehm is starting to hit. But once Bryce Harper turns it on, it could be scary.
Yeah, Casey, they are a good team in fantasy-wise.
Especially given it.
I would want to pick some of those guys up.
Yeah, especially given Atlanta's struggles and losing Spencer Strider and having, Albie's hurt, and Chris Sale hasn't been great, and Max Fried has been terrible. Like, everybody's talking about Atlanta as the best team in baseball, but they might not even win their division if things don't change.
And Brandon Marsh too. I mean, he's somebody that's under 60%. He platoons, but he's been playing a lot regularly now. He's like 25 home run.
He hits against righties, and there's a lot more righties you face. So he's the dominant side of it.
I mean, I like Marsh. I like his look. He looks like a homeless guy. And he is actually heating up too. I mean, he's somebody, if you can pick him up and start him ASAP. I mean, this guy's on fire. So, Casey, who else on the waiver wire kind of caught your eye this week that you're thinking about picking up, that you would suggest about picking up?
Well, if he keeps getting consistent playing time, I love Wilyer Abreu in Boston. I mean, this guy showed power and speed and an ability to get on base in his little cup of coffee at the end of last season. This season, he's getting some playing time, especially with Tyler O'Neill hurt, and all he's done is hit 353 with 4 stolen bases. He's hit a home run. He scored 8 runs. So he's somebody I like. I like the upside of some guys. That's kind of my weakness. I look upside for players. On the pitching side, he's 65% owned or 64% owned, but Brian Wu is about to come back for Seattle. He threw 3 1/3 perfect innings in his first rehab start, striking everybody out. He's been great. I'd look at him. James McArthur, people don't believe him, but he's got 2 saves in the last couple of weeks for Kansas City, a 0 ERA, striking out more than a batter an inning. And what about your boy Andrew Abbott in Cincinnati?
Hey, Abbott.
He's pitching pretty well, and he pitched well last year, so it's not like it was a shock. So those are some guys I like on the waiver wire.
No, I like Abbott too. I think the Reds are a dangerous team. I think they can win the Central, as we all know. I feel that the pitching is a little weak in Cincinnati. I'm still, the question's out to Hunter Green. He gets destroyed some games like he did yesterday. But again, I'd like him. What's your I like Edwin Cabrera of the Marlins. I think
Edward Cabrera. Yeah. He's over 60%. Yeah.
But I mean, I was just looking at him, and I think he's a little over 60, but he's been getting strikeouts. The ERA's good.
He got great command. He was a top breakout player last year. Everybody was predicting at the start of the season because he's a commanding guy who has some strikeout stuff. He got hurt. It wasn't as good of a season for him. Uncle Ted is talking about Keaton Wynn, who's only 5% owned. Keaton Wynn is the kid in San Francisco, the pitcher, decent command control guy. Doesn't have the greatest strikeout rate right now, but he's absolutely worth an own. Under a 3 ERA, I believe, and right around a 1.1 or 1.2 WHIP. Don't quote me on that. I'm speaking about this from memory, but I don't think he quite hits our love of strikeouts per inning pitched. But that doesn't mean he won't in the future. But I agree with you, Uncle Ted.
Yeah, somebody I picked up, Casey, because your suggestion last week is Yariel Rodriguez of the Blue Jays. The two starts, Casey Scheinfeld, 7 in like a third innings, 14 strikeouts. I mean, this guy is a strikeout machine.
Yeah.
And this guy has the splitter. I mean, his stuff is just filthy. And he's still, I don't think he's up to 50% last time I checked. But I picked this guy up in many of my leagues, and I suggest you do the same thing. I think he's somebody that could be like the top 10 pitcher.
He's sneaky because people don't pay attention to Toronto, first of all, and they don't pay attention to people who weren't big prospects when they were called up, which goes back to Ted's point about Keaton Wynn. He wasn't the biggest name, but he just comes in and he's a quality pitcher who's going to give you wins in a sneaky way, give you good stats. So.
And now the Rangers announced, they didn't really announce it, but they've been showing it, that Kirby Yates is their closer in Texas.
That's not a surprise.
Not a surprise, but when I checked last, he was around 58%. So he still could be available in your leagues. If you need saves, I don't know how long he'll have the job for. It doesn't matter, but just pick him up because he's their closer, and Texas is going to win 90 games at least. And a lot of the games are close because their starting pitching is not that great. But but it's I was thinking just Kirby Yates, because people always ask me like, who should I pick relief wise? So my relief of the week is Kirby Yates, Texas Rangers. He's somebody.
Yeah, I mentioned MacArthur. He's somebody you can look at. Joel Payamps has a couple saves in Milwaukee in the past couple weeks, a 0 ERA. Anybody else getting any saves? Michael Kopech. I don't know who the closer is in Chicago. They don't get a lot of wins, but
doesn't matter. I mean,
he's pitching well.
We're lucky to win 50 games.
As long as he saves 30 of them, that's a good pickup. Reed Garrett, the relief pitcher in New York, is like crazy. I don't know what his role is yet. It's undefined in the bullpen.
I don't know.
The last 2 weeks, 5 1/3 innings, 2 wins, a save, 12 strikeouts in 5 1/3 innings, and a .56 WHIP. Like, those numbers can just help you in the peripherals, even if he's not getting the save opportunities, if they're putting him in these situations where he's just striking out the world. And if you're looking like Uncle Ted and I are big into prospects, as you can tell from the chat and from
I can't wait to hear about your new prospect list. So I'm excited.
Well, I mean, the centerpiece of the Dylan Cease trade, if you remember, he was traded from the White Sox to the Padres, was Drew Thorpe, the pitching prospect, the big pitcher from San Diego. He is like been almost flawless at Double-A. If you can get him now and stash him, 18, he's striking out a batter per inning. His career WHIP is less than 1. His career ERA is 2.29. So this guy's done it everywhere. He's somebody I would stash on the pitching side. Hitters, obviously we've talked about a lot of the big names. Joey Loperfido, because Jose Abreu is toast. I don't know how they haven't replaced him already at first base in Houston, other than just the fact that they owe him so much money. You got the big names of James Wood could be called up. Who knows? He's proven that he's doing it everywhere. Kyle Manzardo has been red hot in Cleveland. They have the Naylor brothers there. But considering that he's walked 12 times and struck out 14 times, he's a great kind of on-base guy on top of everything. He's batting over 300, 3 homers in the last 3 games, doing great. And then there's a kid in Toronto, Aurelvis Martinez. He's a power-only guy, kind of like your is it Paez? Is that who you were talking about? He's not going to run,
Paez.
Six stolen bases, 18 RBIs, 20 runs scored over the past, 3 seasons. He's averaged, I think, 28 home runs a season or something like that. So it's not like he hasn't done it before. So that's another guy who you can look at for batters who are under the radar.
I love it. There's this young players coming out, and they're giving their opportunities a lot sooner now because they changed the rule. The CBA. The CBA rules, which is great for these young guys, because I enjoy Casey. I enjoy watching guys that are in their early 20s, even in late teens, if that ever happens anymore. But I like the youth. I like the youth. I think it's great for baseball, and it makes me excited. And I really feel difference when I watch a game, when I watch a rookie play with his excitement and just the energy alone to get the locker room all like rejuvenated. I love it. I love all that. And that's another reason why I think the Baltimore Orioles are the best team in the American League. Sorry. See, we'll go after this. I mean, somebody that I watch a lot because, again, I live in Los Angeles, and Mike Trout, Casey, he has home runs. He's stealing bases again. I mean, do you see him as an Angel of the year? I mean, do you think the Angels will keep him even though, let's say they're in last place or have no playoff contention? Will they trade him? I mean, this is the year to do it, just because he's playing the old Mike Trout.
Yeah. No, I don't think they'll trade him. I think they should. And if I was Mike Trout, I don't think Mike Trout wants to be traded. Honestly,
he's from New Jersey.
He's from Jersey.
Not too far from Philly. Not too far from Philly, Casey Scheinfeld. I mean, I can see him maybe
with Bryce Harper
coming to Philadelphia for that big playoff run. He's not going to win the World Series in Anaheim, Casey. He's not going
to make the playoffs in Anaheim.
But thank you.
I mean,
Anaheim can get so much young talent for him that will help the team down the road.
What about Cleveland, who's playing really well right now in an easily winnable division? You put him in that lineup, but not that they could afford him, but it's.
I mean, he lives
criminal. It's criminal that he's not on a. Right.
I mean, why would he want to leave LA? He plays in Anaheim. There's no pressure. He just shows up and plays. But again, it's like.
Well, how about San Diego? They're playing much better than anybody thought. Put him in their outfield with that lineup, and they could be pretty dynamic. But
yeah, I just think Philly's the more obvious choice.
Trust me. I'm just saying he could go into any of the teams that are in playoff contention, and
I just think in fantasy wise, I just think you got to keep an eye on it, see where he goes.
Let Evan Carter and Wyatt Langford learn from Mike Trout, for crying out loud, in Texas.
I mean, Langford still doesn't have a home run, which is unbelievable because all the power he had. But I guess
Evan Carter's not doing great either. So
no,
he has a couple home runs, but
yeah. So there you go. I mean, people who drafted in a redraft league these rookies really high, made a big mistake. Obviously, if it's a fantasy draft, we'll talk later. Casey, we have the NFL draft coming up on Thursday. I know when it comes to football, you know a lot. Who's the first pick? Caleb Williams. So we both agree. I mean,
Caleb Williams is going to go 1. Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt.
Now 2. Do you take the Heisman Trophy winner who transferred from the best school in the world, Arizona State, to LSU, or do you take Drake May? Yeah, no kidding. Or do you take Drake May, who's another North Carolina quarterback who will probably fail in NFL?
Because it worked out so well. Wasn't that Mitch Trubisky? Wasn't he the
North Carolina
guy?
Oh yeah.
I'm taking Jaden Daniels. In today's NFL, you want the dual threat. And look, if you watched what he did in LSU, it was impressive watching him. He's a true pocket quarterback who can run. He's not just like a runner who can throw. And so I would take Jaden Daniels all day. He might not have the elite arm talent that Drake May has, but he's done it in the SEC. Drake May was still inconsistent with his numbers. He might be more raw. He might be more Josh Allen type Drake May, but I'm taking Jaden Daniels. Washington's had 22 quarterbacks in the last 20 years. Seriously.
It's a horrible stat. I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just It's just amazing they can't get the position right, so it gives them a whole reason to just take this quarterback.
They invested in they figured RG3 was the better investment than Kirk Cousins when they drafted them both the same year.
No mistakes.
And so I think Drake May will go third to New England unless somebody trades into that spot. You got to imagine that Arizona is going to take Marvin Harrison at 4.
No, I think Marvin Harrison Jr., I think, Casey, he's the best athlete, best football player overall in the draft. That's my opinion.
I'm hoping they trade out of that spot and for somebody to take JJ McCarthy there. And then the Chargers go with linemen because that's what Jim Harbaugh likes. Then my Giants get Marvin Harrison Jr., but I don't feel that's going to happen. I feel we're going to end up with Malik
let's throw it out there.
Still great.
Because Harbaugh's the coach of the Chargers. You know, he coached Michigan last year, and Jake is his quarterback. How about they trade Herbert Chargers on draft day for like a bunch of picks, draft JJ McCarthy, and make him his starting quarterback? What do you
as long as the Giants are the one they trade Herbert to, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I mean, because I like Herbert. I just don't think he's like a true like winner. I don't think he's. I don't know. I'm not sold on him.
Yeah, I know.
And everybody has him in their top 10 list. Everybody thinks he's the next coming. I get it, but I would trade him. I think this is the perfect time for the guy, and you can get a lot for him. The Chargers have no receivers. I think Dr. Dan Ratner's starting at the wide receiver 2 there.
They
really. I mean, nobody. I mean, they really got rid of everybody. The 2 starting wide receivers from last year are gone.
Yeah, they have what's his name? Quentin Richardson, is that his name? Who's the
Johnson,
something like that? Yeah,
the guy the guy from Texas. But I mean, it's just, you know, I hate we're talking football during a big baseball show, but I'm excited about the NFL
I'm excited for the draft Thursday too.
I mean, there's gonna be a lot of trades, folks. Make sure you watch.
Love it. Then we start our dynasty drafts the weekend after. It's perfect.
Yeah, perfect. And I'll be trading for your number 1 pick. Don't worry. I'm Ross the Boss. That's Casey Flat to the Bone Scheinfeld. We'll be here on Thursday with Dr. Dan Ratner at the same time. We'll talk more draft strategy instead of waiver wire stuff. But if you guys have any questions, you guys can always type it up and we'll answer them. Casey, I'll see you on Thursday. Thanks for watching, folks.
Hey, man. Have a good night.